Thank you, ladies. So from our beautiful mountain, now we shine the spotlight on our beautiful animals at that. Now, last night, Cape Town hosted the 2017 Tusk Conservation Awards. Now, it's one of the highest accolades in the field of conservation on the African continent, and it recognizes extraordinary people whose work goes largely unnoticed. Now, this morning, we are honored to be joined by the CEO of Tusk, Charlie Mayhew, along with the recipients of the prestigious Prince William Award for Conservation, Riaan Labuschagne. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, lovely to have you. I see you gotten well acquainted with our pups as well. So we are heading into the wild right now. Charlie, let's start with you. Let's talk about Tusk as an organization. Exactly who are you guys and what work do you do across the African continent?
So we're a British-based conservation organization that supports a wide portfolio of conservation initiatives right across the continent of Africa. We currently support about 60 programs across 21 countries, including here in South Africa. We were delighted to bring our Conservation Awards here to Cape Town. It was an initiative we set up 5 years ago with Prince William, our patron.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I mean, the work that you guys are doing, just based on some of the visuals we've just seen, is phenomenal. Now, Riaan, you were the recipient of the Prince William Conservation Award, which is a Lifetime Achievement Award as well. I mean, what does this award mean to you and your respective field?
Well, it's firstly a big honor to receive it after so many years, and you work in places that nobody really visit. I think the big thing is just to think back on your teams and the people you've worked with, and to go back and actually give feedback to that and make them part of it is for me a very big thing, to say it was all worth it and that somebody out there is actually looking at what you're doing. Yeah,
and taking notice. And I mean, you've seen the best and the worst of situations out there, I'm sure, throughout your career. So I can only imagine what this award means to you. Now, Charlie, what is it about Riaan's journey that really stood out for you, enabling him to win this award at the end?
Well, as judges, we sift through a lot of nominations that come to us for these awards. And for the Lifetime Achievement Award, what we're really looking for is someone exceptional who has really had a huge impact in their particular field. And in Riaan's case, he's not only worked in just one place, he's managed to turn around the conservation of a number of areas. Malawi in particular, in the Serengeti in Tanzania, and really most notably in Zukuma in Chad. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't have no idea where that is.
Yeah.
And the impact that Riaan and his teams have had in really, managing to protect these extraordinary places, which are so valuable to Africa, is really what we were recognizing last night.
Oh, that is fantastic. We're going to get into, what went down on the awards evening itself, and also continue talking about our beautiful rhinos and elephants right here on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Into the Wild. If you have any wildlife-related questions that you would like to ask our gentlemen, you can call us 021 431 9881. That's the number.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
We are back to your Into the Wild segment here on Expresso, and hanging out with Charlie, the CEO of Tusk, and also Riaan, who accepted the Prince William Award for Conservation, which is a Lifetime Achievement Award for his efforts in conservation this morning. So give us a call, 021 430 9881, if you have any questions or answers or maybe comments around conservation with our beautiful animals. So thank you once again, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. So I just want to quickly touch on, we spoke about the Tusk Awards that took place last night. Some significant figures were involved. Graça Machel, Evi de Klerk was there, Desmond Tutu as well. What does this mean for you as an organization?
Oh, it's fantastic to have three of Africa's sort of preeminent characters attend this event, and to express their own support for not only the work of Tusk and that we're doing, but more importantly, actually, for support for people like Riaan and the finalists. And they were just so gracious in attending the event and participating. We were thrilled to have them there.
Of course, and all three of them, obviously, huge love for South Africa and, the wildlife therein as well. Rian, let's focus on your actual work for a second here. You reintroduced the black rhino in Malawi at the Liwonde National Park in the 90s. So, firstly, how did you go about doing that? Is it quite a process or an involved process?
It is quite a process. If you think that how endangered, especially the black rhino, the people that have these rhinos, the donors, are very critical on where they will send the rhino. So you have to do a lot of preparation insofar as security, preparing the land to receive the rhinos. And then, of course, logistically, it's to immobilize, put in a crate, transport by air, land at the place, transport again, release, and then hope it all goes well in the place you release it. So it's a very big operation,
I
and
think
a very big teamwork to get it done.
I think the majority of people only think about, if you reintroduce something to the wild, it's basically just there, go and do your thing. But there's so much that happens behind the scenes. Charlie, where does the world currently stand in terms of numbers when we look at the black rhino?
Well, the black rhino, unfortunately, really, its population has declined dramatically over the last few decades, and it now stands at around about 5,000 individuals across the continent. South Africa, of course, is fortunate to have a pretty healthy population of white rhino, but even the white rhino's overall population is only stands at just over 20,000. We're not talking about a lot of animals here.
It's not a lot, man. If you take a look at it as a global perspective.
Absolutely, and the poaching crisis is still really impacting on these populations. I mean, South Africa has been losing up to 3 rhino a day. So it's all been fueled by demand from the Far East for rhino horn, and it's been exploited by international criminal syndicates are exploiting this trade, illegal trade, so a lot of the work that our partners in the field are doing on the front line is to protect these species, but as Tusk, we are also working to try and shut down and close down the demand side in places like the Far East.
And you can just get a sense of why an achievement like the Prince William Award is such a huge kind of recognition for the work that Rian, that you are doing as well. We're going to continue talking about our beautiful animals in just a bit with Into the Wild. Once again, if you have any questions or comments, 021-430-9881, that's our number.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. You're tuned into your Feel Good Breakfast Show. This is Expresso only on SABC3. I hope you're enjoying this Thursday morning with us. And I'm so happy to be shining the spotlight on our beautiful rhinos and elephants this morning. We have Charlie from Tusk with us, and also Rian, the recipient of the Prince William Award for Conservation, which is a Lifetime Achievement Award. It's a fantastic, I think, achievement in his field of work as well. So Rian, you are currently stationed in Zakuma National Park, and that's, where exactly is that? In Chad?
Zakuma is in Chad, Central Africa. It's a landlocked country. And Zakuma, the park is on the eastern boundary, close to CAR and the Sudan.
Okay, now I know that obviously their poaching is a big issue. This is what we are talking about. But you've managed to drastically cut down the poaching of elephants. So what kind of measures did you put in place to kind of make this happen?
I think the first thing, or the biggest thing, we basically overhauled the whole anti-poaching or security system completely to put a new thing in place, that there's a new thinking and, of course, catching the other side a bit off guard. But what we've done is to put satellite collars on the main herds and then start to track them from a control room. And then from there, we direct our patrols. We have 2 aircraft there around these elephants to make sure the right people at the right place at the right time. And I think another very big thing is the training and building up morale with the guards and doing this all year round. Where, if you understand Zakuma a little bit, it's 6 very wet months when everything is flooded, 6 very dry months. And in the past, the management would have pulled out in the 6 very wet months. And what we have put in place is that we stayed there all time and then operated with small aircraft to make sure we could get to the animals.
And it's a massive operation. We were talking just off air now, Charlie, about the fact that this is actually a fully fledged war going on, especially in areas like Chad. I mean, how bad is the situation really up there?
Well, the poaching crisis that has swept across Africa has really accounted for, the decimation of the continent's elephant population in places not just like Chad, but is also in the DRC, Tanzania, Mozambique. Have all suffered huge losses in elephants, due to the ivory trade. But there is progress, and the interesting is, I don't know if you're aware that China announced at the beginning of this year that they're going to close down its own domestic trade in ivory, and that's a massive step that 3 or 4 years ago none of us would have believed that was going to be possible. So there is progress on this, and so I think it's very important that we remain positive. That the work that people like Rian are doing. And the rangers that he's got in the field are really holding the line as best they can. But it is a war. There are over 1,000 rangers have been killed, lost their lives in this battle. And Rian has had first-hand experience of that.
We'll talk about that in just a bit. That's serious. Like, I didn't know it is that bad, a fully fledged war. But we would love to have your calls, 021 430 9881. One more chat with these gentlemen coming up.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Ah, man, these are beautiful, beautiful animals. We were just talking now how incredibly intelligent they are. They are fascinating animals indeed, and we need to look after them. And this is why this gentleman here this morning, Charlie and Rian. Rian, we spoke a little bit about poaching ahead of the break just now, but you have physically been out there in the field. You know exactly how bad it is. Have you ever been in a situation where you literally feared for your life? Because we know, thousands of rangers lost due to poaching.
Yes, there's been times, especially we use aircraft a lot, and if you start to engage with elephant poachers that's around elephant herd, of course from the air you try to deter them, and with the shooting that happens there, if there's one bullet go the wrong way there, you are all gone. So I've been in situations like that. Luckily, it happens so quick, and it's such adrenaline going at that time that you don't think too much about it. But later that night, it does hit you.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's not the the ideal position for a human being to be in. You put it into perspective for us a little bit earlier on. I mean, in terms of the amount of rangers out there lost to poaching compared to, I don't know, your policemen. I mean, what are we looking at?
Well, the statistics are horrific, and over 1,000 rangers have lost their lives, in the last decade, on the front line of the poaching epidemic that has been sweeping across the continent of Africa, and some of the places that Rian's worked in, and other places where Tusk is invested, there have been huge losses, and just to put it in some perspective, it is. There are more rangers that have been lost than British and American servicemen, in Afghanistan and places like that. So that helps to put it in some.
Absolutely, but this calls on a large effort. I mean, organisations like you are kind of pioneering, the conservation efforts. But what, in your opinion, should we as general citizens be doing to support the kind of work that you are doing and look after our heritage?
Well, I think that that one of my biggest concerns is that the human population across the world, not just here in Africa, is becoming increasingly urbanized, and we are losing our own connection with the natural world. And so I would urge people to get out into the bush here and really see how incredibly fortunate Africa is in having this unique natural heritage. It's an incredible economic asset, let alone a natural asset. And we need to implore our politicians to really raise the protection of Africa's wild habitat, wild places, wildlife. Raise it up the political agenda. It would be just too awful if we were the generation that stood by and allowed these majestic, iconic species to disappear on our watch, and that's because that's what's happening.
That's what's happening. Charlie, Rian, thank you very much for joining us this morning. I mean, just giving us an insight into the situation we are dealing with. And once again, Rian, congratulations with that Prince William Award for Conservation, man. I really appreciate your efforts and continue doing so. And also educate those around you. That's what it all comes down to. Educate, get the young ones out there in the field, learn about these beautiful animals because they are just phenomenal. And once again, we stress that we just need to make sure to look after what we call our South African and African heritage as well.